Hi, Greg the Brickitect here. This video is a follow-up to my last video, which was a review of LEGO Creator Set 5761 Mini Digger. If you haven't seen that review, I'll put a link in the description. But as always with these small creator sets, I like to make my own MOC using only the pieces in the set. And that's what I did here. I built my own LEGO skid steer. And this is almost micro scale, but it's a little bit bigger than that, so I won't necessarily define it as that. But I took all the pieces from the set, and I built what I thought would be the best skid steer. And if you're not sure what a skid steer is, you can obviously look it up, but I'll tell you it's a small piece of construction equipment, usually single person operated, which is what this section right here would be. And it allows for you to move things around, so it kind of has this bucket on the front, which you can see right there. And it moves up and down, and typically there's an arm that runs from the front all the way to the back on the side here. And unfortunately I couldn't do that because I'm using only the pieces from the set, but I kind of made it look like that's sort of the case, where it kind of raises up from here all the way up to the back. And then speaking of the back, this is how a typical skid steer would look somewhat. They're usually pretty flat on the back. They usually have lights, which I kind of allowed for these spots right here to kind of serve as that. And they're flat, but I didn't have quite the pieces to do that, so I did the best that I could, and I'm really happy with the color scheme. You kind of have the yellow, and I think you can kind of see the gray and the black that kind of runs in stripes, and that runs along the whole side, so it's a nice clean look, and that's something that I really appreciate when I check out sets like this. It has bigger than average tires for its skid steer, and speaking of the tires and wheels on a skid steer, typically how they work is when you're driving one of these, the tires kind of function together. So the left and right side, if you're trying to turn, you could almost turn like this because these tires work together and these tires work together, so you can almost spin this around in a 360-degree angle. And I think that's kind of cool. The typical cabin on this, which you see here with these two glass or plastic pieces of which are looking like glass and these black slopes on the top, it's usually a little bit bigger than that, so it's not quite to scale. But again, I'm just using the pieces that I had provided in this set, and I kind of like the challenge of that. Here's a couple shots of it from the front, and I'll show you what it looks like from the side again so you can see how it looks. I honestly think that I did the best that I could do with the pieces that I had available. I didn't use nearly all the pieces from the set, but I used a good number of them. I think there's a total of 57 pieces, and I'll say that I probably used 25 to 30. And I'm just really happy with the way this turned out. I think it's a fun little build, and if you do happen to have LEGO Creator Set 5761, here's a fourth build for you. If you got tired of building that stuff and want to build something different, this is always an option for you. I'll kind of show you how it looks from every angle, just so if you happen to be trying to build this, you have an idea of what you need to do. And it's really not that difficult. And of course, you could do something similar to this, or change it up however you want. But there's a look at the bucket. That was the only way that I think you could build a bucket with this set, was using that kind of design that came with the mini digger, and I kind of replicated that for the most part. And then that's how it's all connected on the front. It usually doesn't have that much motion with a skid steer, but that's the only way you could really get the angle. And if you were trying to pick pieces up with this, I'll kind of just pick a piece out here. So if this was something you were trying to pick up, it would come along and kind of pick it up like this, and then it lifts it like that, and then you drive it to where you want. And that whole arm, again, would just be one piece instead of that angle right there. But I think it turned out pretty good, and I'm quite happy with it. So thanks for watching my video of my LEGO skid steer MOC, and I'll have another video up here soon.